Hello, happy mid-year. Today we're doing a financial reset. We're going to talk about last month's spending, what went well, what didn't, what went over budget, what didn't. We're going to go over 2025 financial goals that I set at the beginning of the year to see what our progress is with those, if we've actually achieved any, and then kind of focus in on what needs to be focused on for the next 6 months to see how many of those goals we can achieve. And then we'll also set our July budget going forward. So just a big ol' reset, getting all of the finances back under control with set plans in place. For context, hi, my name is Anna. I am 25 years old and I am currently renting an apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. I work full-time as a social worker. I have a bachelor's, master's, 2 years post-grad experience. No, that's not true. 3 years post-grad experience, 2 years at my current job. I do work a regular 40-hour week, however, I am paid hourly in case I go overtime. So sometimes my paychecks do fluctuate a little bit, but starting at the end of last year, I started making occasional financial videos sort of like this one because I find that it's something that's really important to talk about. I think that there was a huge learning curve with myself of wanting to have personal finance within my control and grow in that way, but not really knowing how to do so. And it is one of the lesser talked about topics, I feel, especially for people who maybe might feel more relatable. I have no sort of expertise in finances, financial planning, none of that. Don't take any of my advice. I'm just going to talk about what I do, and if that's helpful at all for you to hear, then I'm so glad. That's why I make these videos. I still have a lot to learn and I'm excited to learn it all, but I also do feel that I've learned a lot and it has helped set me up in a better place than I could be if I didn't make some of the decisions that I've made. But we'll kind of talk about all of that through the video. I just find that that's kind of helpful context so you know where I'm coming from as I'm making this video, you know a little bit of my situation. But without too much further ado, let me grab my little laptop and we'll go over the June budget recap. The budget system that I use is from Coplenty. I can link them below. I don't get anything from the link. It was just an online download that I downloaded at the beginning of this year. I have liked it through this year. I don't know if I'll do it again next year. I have time to decide that. But there are some aspects of it that I feel maybe could better fit me, a different budget template could better fit me. I don't have anything against it. I just feel I'm not so sold on it that I want to commit to using it year after year. Honestly, what I'm kind of feeling is starting next year, I may want to use Gabby Peterson's template. If you've seen her budget templates, they look amazing. But I like this one, and my first half of the year is on this one, so I'm going to finish it out this year. Starting with income. Income was about expected this month. I will say my YouTube AdSense has just been kind of declining, which is fine, but I had been budgeting 200, putting it as expected for each month, knowing that it'll be a little bit above 200. This is the first month that it was actually under 200, and in July it'll also be under 200. So I may just change what I have as the expected number, because really any money I get from YouTube AdSense just goes to savings and I consider it extra anyways, and having that little red number annoys me. But this is a pretty regular month for us. Zach gets paid the same every single month because he's on a stipend for school, and I get paid every other week, which was twice this month. One of my paychecks reflected my first raise of this year, so we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Actually, one of them reflected the first raise and the one before that reflected me working Memorial Day, so both of these were a little bit higher. I was kind of thinking they would actually feel quite a bit higher than they actually did end up feeling, but both of the paychecks this month were actually a bit higher than would have been typical. Looking at bills this month, and these are just the set monthlies that we pay. Rent was actually $2 more than we had budgeted for because our trash fee got increased $2, so not a big deal, but I'll just change the number that we're expecting to pay for months coming up ahead. Rent is one too that we're kind of starting to calculate what we can pay, what we want to pay, because we're getting at the point where pretty soon we'll be getting our renewal for our current apartment, and we'll have to decide if we would like to upgrade the space and pay some more, or continue living in a smaller, a little bit less desirable space, but be living well below our means, because that's kind of been our goal this whole time. So that'll be a discussion coming up in the future. For power was so happy for me this month. 80/18. At our apartment that we lived in last year for the month of June, we paid $190 in power. 80/18 feels amazing, and truly this is just to do with the apartment and the location and sun and the floor we're on and everything. So it's a little bit out of our control, but felt really good. Wi-Fi is consistent every month, 35. Epidemic sound was not due this month. Rental insurance will be due next month. We'll have to put it in our July budget. And then Zach just has a service fee that's $4.99 every month. So really nothing too crazy for bills. Our bill total ends up being $1,828.18. Subscriptions and memberships for this month. Spotify is just monthly every month, $11.99. Apple Storage I actually upgraded this month. It had to do a lot whenever I was downloading my wedding video footage. I'm so tired of iCloud just being so full, and so I bit the bullet and I did the monthly subscription for more iCloud storage space, which will now be $10.99 per month. So I was $8 more than expected for this month because it had been $2.99, but I think it'll be worth it because I need it for videos I make like this and whenever I'm editing, and I require quite a bit of storage. My facial is $100 a month, just almost every single month. Planet Fitness $25.05 every month for both of us being able to go, which is awesome. And then laptop is just Zach's got a new laptop sometime last fall that we decided to do in 0% APR 12-month monthly payments, and so that just comes at the end of the month, $145.66, making our subscriptions and memberships total be $293.69. Some expenses were different than I was counting on this month, but some of them also were surprising in a good way, or just like felt good. So starting at the top, groceries ended up being a lot more than I budgeted for. I do think I had decreased the budget some because I spent the first week of this month at camp, and so I was away and had like all of my food paid for there. I do think we just made like a lot of kind of ancillary trips to the grocery store this month, which I don't hate, but just like makes it be more trips to the grocery store. And also there's things like we got a whole lot of toilet paper and things that we get at the grocery store, but I don't necessarily like factor out in the budget just because it's all in one receipt, so it's easiest for me to put it all in one category. So that was by far the biggest out of budget category, but sometimes that happens, and I'll just like learn whenever we're going into July that maybe it'll be closer to like that amount. Typically I like to over budget for things because then I can stay under budget like comfortably and it feels great. Obviously not for that one this month. Dining out also more, $497. That's almost $500 in dining out, which is a lot. But honestly, the things that went into that this month, we went to a drag dinner with some of Zach's work people, which is like then dinner and a show in the same ticket. So it's like a ticket as well as dinner itself, which definitely was expensive, but like that's factored in there. Our anniversary was this past month, so we went out to anniversary dinner, and then I don't know what really like added up other than that. I guess just little times that we went out and got food. That is more than we typically spend in a month dining out, and that is one that I do think in the upcoming month we're gonna have to kind of see what we can rein in a little bit. Car and transportation was $171.35. This includes an oil change and then a couple gas fill-ups. Gas fill-ups we try to keep pretty cheap because one, we don't drive really all that often at all, and then two, we get Kroger points and then try to use like as many Kroger points as possible. So one of our fill-ups this month was like about $16, which is wonderful, but it did go up because there was the oil change this month, so it kind of evens out. Coffee and breakfast feels different to me than a dining out category. Like going to coffee and getting breakfast is just a whole different vibe and a whole different budget thing going on. $52.42, that feels small like for coffee, and I think we did get breakfast a couple times too. I feel good about that. Didn't buy anything for the home this month. Gifts and donations, I guess I had planned on donating and I didn't. I did budget $200 to donate, and I guess that didn't go anywhere. I do feel like I just start getting like perfectionistic about like, oh, I want to find the perfect charity to like give money to in this time where I would like to be helping people, and then it ends up happening like this where the month passes by and I didn't. So like I could still give this money in July and just like push it over into my July budget, but I think at some point I just need to realize like giving is better than giving perfectly, because I did like research and like look at local organizations around Atlanta and like various things, and I never actually put in my credit card information. Beauty and wellness, $39.90 that I hadn't planned on. That's because I ran out of moisturizer, so I just had to get more moisturizer. I feel like I got something else on that trip too, because the moisturizer itself was not that expensive. Health and medical, $100. I'm just like paying down a bill in 0% monthly payments, 0% APR monthly payments. Honestly, if something is a 0% APR monthly payment, I'm gonna do the monthly payment option as long as it's not like growing in interest, so that I can be collecting interest in the meantime. It's like such a negligible small thing, but like if I could be having my money grow while it's in my hands and the balance due is not growing, then I'm gonna do that. Not for like buying stuff, but for things like medical bills slash the laptop, like that kind of thing. Clothes and shoes, I ended up spending $67.94 on. I had allocated $100, so this is under budget, but I got 2 new pairs of shoes this month, both from Asics. Just like both kind of casual tennis shoes that I am loving. You can probably see them coming up in like some vlogs because I'm gonna be wearing them for the rest of my life. Now shopping miscellaneous did go harder. Let's see, $250. Let me remember what those things were. Okay, one was like a Whole Foods run where I ended up getting like a water bottle. Actually, the water bottle was kind of a big one that I have now returned. I just haven't gotten the money back, so it's still sitting there. Like in the budget, it's still being factored out. Let me actually check, because I actually don't know what all of this is. And I'm kind of curious since it added up that much. Okay, one was my phone case. That checks out. Like I got this phone case this month. One was shipping for my LCSW application. I paid a lot for shipping because I wanted it tracked. I wanted it on a truck. I wanted it there fast. So I paid a lot for shipping. So it's just like a lot of those miscellaneous things are the things that added up this month, which does make more sense to me. Lunches was significantly under budget this month, and that was purposeful. I was like really putting effort into that. I only spent $48.20 on lunches at the hospital this month. A lot of that honestly is being $3.39 a day for core powers that I get, which is cheaper than if I were to get them at a grocery store because of like an employee discount we have at the hospital. So that's amazing. And then I definitely did get entrees maybe 2 or 3 times, but I really have been trying to bring my lunch much more frequently than just buying at the cafeteria. Also for the fact of I've been like on a weight loss journey, and that cafeteria I just do not think accurately counts what they're putting into food at all, and I just notice a difference in my body and like a difference in my progress whenever I'm eating food that's made there versus food that I know. So kind of all those factors in together goes into a lower spending in the lunches category. And then we just have Zach and Anna fun categories. I forget what Zach's was this month, but my Anna fun category was actually the application fee for my clinical license. So Anna fun might be a stretch of a category for it to be in, but it just felt like the best fit category of just like an out of the ordinary expense of mine specifically. And then 0 to taxes and 0 to honeymoon. That's the one that feels really good because last month that category was definitely not 0, but this month we do not have to pay for a honeymoon ever again. I mean, it was lovely. I loved everything we paid for in the honeymoon, but we don't have to pay for it ever again. This is a little graphic that I like looking at. I honestly haven't ever looked at how it changes over time, and that could kind of be interesting to see. Oh, I didn't show you, but I was able to send about $19.50 to savings this month. About $200 of that was YouTube AdSense money, and then the rest of it was just from like leftover money after paying for things and getting paid. But this just shows a breakdown of like where in those different categories money is going. And so the majority of our money goes to expenses, which is honestly kind of how I would want it to be, because I wouldn't want the majority of our money to be locked into like monthly bills, like the rent and all of that. So it's mostly just those like ancillary things, like the little expenses, and then savings is next. And that's not even including like retirement savings that gets deducted from paycheck. Like that's literally just like what I send to high yield savings, and then bills, and then subscriptions. So I feel pretty good about that. The other graph that's good to see every month is where most of my money goes. And so here it is like literally the different line items more so, or like the more specific categories. And so we have high yield savings as the number 1, and then rent, and then groceries, and then dining out, and then it keeps going down. But that feels good to me. Like I enjoy seeing that the living below our means is like paying off to where we're able to send a lot to savings each month. While I'm in a time of life that I can do it, I want to be doing it. I understand that I won't always be in a time of life where my bills are this low, but for the amount of time that I can like live below my means, I want to do it a lot. So that's a little bit on just like the day-to-day how the spending is going, at least this past month. But looking at 2025 financial goals that I'd set for myself, we're gonna see like if they're done, in progress, or failed at this point in the year. My goal number 1 was to increase my AGI by 15%. AGI is adjusted gross income, and it's like the amount that on your taxes is what you made for that year. I want to increase mine by 15%. I don't want to share like exactly what that number is, obviously, but by 15%, and I don't know if I'm quite on track to do this. Like it obviously is in progress. The year is not over, but as of right now, I am making less from social media than I was last year. I did just get my raise, so I will be making more, and I should get another raise in a couple months as well, but I don't know if that'll like kick in enough to really bring my, you know, like overall yearly income up all that much. And also neither of those are 15%. So I feel like for me to make this, honestly, I'm just gonna have to do things to make extra money, whether that is like really trying to increase monetizing social media, whether that is picking up weekend shifts whenever they have vacancy at the hospital, which I am trialing this upcoming month. It's honestly 2 Sundays in a row I am going to be picking up shifts so that I have like extra overtime hours, and I'm helping out where there was a vacancy. So I'm just trying it out to see if like it feels worth it. I don't know if that would get me to 15%, but we'll see. It was kind of a lofty goal, maybe, I don't know, but I'd also like it to come true. So we'll just see how this one goes as it goes towards the end of the year, and I will try to continue increasing income in reasonable ways where it's not just like taking over my life, since I don't like, I'm not desperate, you know, I'm not desperate for it. It's just like I would like to continually be growing. Number 2 was to contribute the maximum amount to my Roth IRA. I have done this. I honestly took from my saving, like my emergency fund. I did not drain my emergency fund, but I had like a little bit over what my goal amount was, and I just ended up being able to take it all and throw it in my Roth IRA all at once, invested it all. So that is just done for the year. It's honestly, I like it better just doing it like all at once. I don't know the perks of doing it this way versus doing like a set amount each month, but I just like mentally being able to do it all at once and be like, okay, that box is checked. So that is done for the year. Goal number 3 is to have a 10K emergency fund. I have hit this again, so that's awesome, which means that any other savings can just go in like a high yield savings account or a brokerage account. My husband does a lot more with like investing in the stock market, which I so appreciate him for, but we kind of just like divvy it up between how much we'd like to send to a brokerage account versus how much we'd like to just still be in the savings account, even if it's above the like emergency fund. But emergency funds honestly decrease my anxiety a whole lot and is over 6 months of expenses for us. So it feels good to have that. And I feel very proud that we were able to save enough to kind of stock that back up, especially during wedding and honeymoon year, which just has me circling back around to like living below means so that we're able to send a lot of savings. Number 4 was to save a down payment for a car. If you don't know, right now we're a 1-car household. Eventually I imagine we'll go back to having to be a 2-car household. Like it just probably won't be sustainable forever, but we kind of want to extend the 1-car household for as long as is feasible and that we can. And so we're continuing to do that for now, but I also would like to be in the position to where at the time that it feels right to buy a car and like it feels like we need that I'm able to. I kind of changed this from the beginning of the year, because in the beginning of the year I was thinking like have a savings account that has enough for a down payment on a car, because also I don't want to be car poor whenever I do get a car. Like I would like to do as big of a down payment as I can and just have like a very small monthly payment. So we'll see how that goes out, but I haven't decided now like if I'll have a savings account or if I'll use money that I have in like one brokerage account, because it's like a good amount right now, but we'll see the strategy of how we do that best. But at this point, like if I needed to buy a car, I could for a reasonable down payment that would make a reasonable monthly payment, which just feels good to know that, because like I'd like to push that out as long as possible, but it feels good knowing that we can whenever we need to. My 5th goal was to increase my 403b contribution percentage to 7%. My 403b is because I work for a nonprofit, so it's like a 401k, it's my retirement account. I get matched up to 4%, so I've always made sure to be over 4% to not be losing out on free money. But my goal was that while our monthly expenses are low and I'm in my 20s and I'm able to do Roth contributions, like post-tax contributions into my retirement account to just maximize that as much as possible. I forget what I started this year at. I think I started this year at 5% and then getting a 4% match. And right now I'm at 10%. It's definitely over 7. I believe it is 10% that I'm contributing right now to my 403b, and then a 4% match on top of that. So again, not going to be feasible at every time in my life, but right now definitely feasible. And also I want to invest in my retirement as much as I can in my 20s so that I can just like grow and do the most that it possibly can in the time before I retire. And so I've kind of changed it here and there and everywhere so far this year. Like for a couple paychecks I was up at 12. That didn't feel sustainable for forever just because the paychecks felt small once they made their way into my hands. I do remember, and I've talked about it before, but there was one time on TikTok that I did like a paycheck breakdown, or it was like maybe a budget my paycheck with me, I forget exactly what it was, and someone was like, you would get more money if you didn't put as much in your retirement account. And I was like, technically true. However, I want to really utilize all I can in my 20s to just give that like as much time to grow. I don't want to have to be loading up retirement in the future. I want to do that now so I can just be like set. All that to say, that goal is successful. Number 6 was to intentionally join finances. I got married right in January and we've been living together for a while. We've been like pretty joined in finances, but not like officially until this year. And so I just wanted to like learn and kind of figure out how to like best cultivate the mindset of like our money. And I think we're doing this well. I have like watched some videos, I've listened to some podcasts, I haven't read any books. I got a lot of good suggestions from you guys, which I really appreciate. I've made my way through some of them. I haven't made my way through all of them yet, of like listening to the things you've recommended, because I just wanted to make sure to like do this part well. And I do think we are really good at being like, this is our money. Like I make money to contribute to our money, Zach makes money to contribute to our money, and then whenever we both spend, like it's coming from our money. I feel like we've been doing this well. I'm sure there's still ways that we can like grow and everything, but I do feel like this is in progress at least. Goal number 7 was to send leftover money to savings. This was a goal because last year I realized that I got really comfortable just leaving money in my checking account, and if I had extra money, just like letting it sit there instead of sending it to my savings account. I think a lot of this comes from the fact that like once I send something to my savings account, I really don't want to pull back from that. Like I don't want to send it in the reverse direction, whereas like really that's okay sometimes, you know, like if I overdo it and like still contribute a fine amount and pull some back, like that's okay, and it's kind of better than it just like sitting in my checking account. So I just wanted to make sure that I was kind of keeping my checking account balance lower and then just like sending what I could to savings when I could, instead of being like, oh well maybe I'll need this, you know, like just sending it to savings. And I do think I've done this. Like I've been sending my checking account a lot lower on average, because really like that's fine. There's not too many unexpected expenses that come up. If an unexpected expense comes up, realistically it can go on a credit card that I can like pay off once I transfer money around. So there's not too much reason for me to be keeping things in an account that doesn't make any interest. So I have been sending as much as I can anytime I can to my high yield savings. Number 8 was to mindfully focus finances, and I worded it like this. What I was meaning is like intentionally intentionally spend on things that I would like to spend on, not just think like, oh, I have to save, I have to save, I have to save, and not letting myself spend money on things that I actually would want to within reason. And I do think that this has been successful, even just in the sense of like for wedding spending and then for honeymoon spending and things like that. I did not have like spending guilt because I wanted to like trade money for those experiences. And so I do feel like this has been successful so far. It's in progress because the year's still going on, but we have been able to save a lot, but I haven't been feeling like spending guilt or money guilt because I think I'm starting to be able to acknowledge like we're set up well, we're like making good effort, we're living below our means, which means if I do want to get $100 facial every month, then like that's fine because that's something that I would like to do, and I want to work for this money, get this paycheck, and then trade this money for that service. Like that is something I would like to do, and so I'm going to do it. And I think I've been able to do that without spending guilt in a way that I've not always been able to in the past. Number 9 was to keep a to-buy list. I wanted to do this so that I wouldn't impulsively purchase and could like make sure I really want something before I buy it. Yes, I may have like circled around a little too much. For example, like pillows I've really been needing and I've like put off buying because I was like, no, you can make do with the pillows you have, and really like shouldn't have been making do with the pillows I have. And then like the same with the shoes that I just bought. Like I probably really should have gotten new shoes before I did. So I think the impulsive spending is definitely down. There's not too many things that are impulsive spending. My phone case I thought about for several months before buying, so this has been successful. And then number 10, maintain a budget tracker. As you can see, we've been doing that. It's been maintained. So touching a little bit more on my raise, like I said, I would circle back around to, we get merit raises every June. This year's was honestly really disappointing for me, and I'm still kind of getting over it. I feel like it's just disappointing to me whenever like I would like to stay with a company, but then I see how much more job switchers make in their lifetime than job stayers, because a company is not going to give you as much of a raise as you would get with switching a job. That being said, obviously like a job that I have pays more than a job that I don't have, and so like there's the security in that obviously, but it just, the raise that I got this year was lower than I thought it would be. It was just 3% even, which doesn't even keep up with normal inflation rates. So like if you're really going to be technical about it, I'm like making less now this year than I was at this time last year. It was just 3%, and so my hourly is now $32.60, which I keep reminding myself is like more than I used to make. But I think in my head I just thought, even if it's only a percent different, like I thought I was getting maybe like closer to 4, and I didn't. And I honestly just felt like I was worth more than that, and my past year's worth of work was worth more than that. And so I feel like my raise was something that I was like really excited leading up to, and then kind of just haven't really wanted to talk about since then, because it made me feel like, or how do I word this? It kind of just like hit me in the head like with a frying pan of like, you would get paid more somewhere else. And I'm like, ah, cool. But then I also keep trying to remind myself too of like, now is not really a good time to switch jobs. And also, I don't know, there's obviously like so many factors in it, but that's just like kind of that of like, I used to be so excited for it, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk about my raise once I get my raise. And then it was just 3% even, which I know not even every job does annual raises like that, but I also know that some jobs do them more and do them better. So we'll see. I do have upcoming, once I get my clinical license, which is like a huge deal in social work. I feel like it had always been advertised to me as whenever you get your clinical license, standard is like a 10% raise. At my old job, let me do the math. At my old job, it was a 40% raise to get the clinical license, which is humongous. And that honestly goes to show how like underpaid people were before getting that license. But at my current job, it's 5%, which will have me going from being like the 75th percentile for my current credentials to being like the bottom 10th percentile for the credentials that I'll earn. And it's just something to think about. I'm like thankful for every raise, but it's something to think about, and I'll be thinking about it. But that's also kind of why I've like touched on those things, but I haven't talked about them deeper because I have feelings that I'm sorting out. All of that being said, it is time for my next favorite part, which is called setting up the July budget. So setting up the budget is always a fun thing to do at the beginning of the month. I love it. We'll start with the first category, which is income. And so with my income, I would so much rather undersell myself than oversell myself. But this also is going to be my first month getting 2 paychecks at my new rate, and also will have some extra hours because of the extra hours I'm doing. So I'm just going to go with saying that each paycheck will be around $1,800, maybe, which would make our expected for the 2 paychecks be $3,600. And then I believe Zach gets paid at the same time, and he always gets the same every month, so I'll just do a copy and a paste. YouTube AdSense, I'm gonna put expected as $150. I will surpass that, thankfully. Actually, I already know because it's like a month delayed, so I could even put in my actual. For June in AdSense, I made $170.94, and that's pre-tax. You probably could guess that, but that's pre-tax. I'm not expecting to have any other social media income. Oh, you know what? Actually, I was about to say I'm not expecting any gifts, but we do actually have a tax surplus that's coming our way this month for both of us. So expected 500, it's gonna be actual 500 too. But this is because in Georgia, it was like the Georgia state didn't spend all their tax money. They could have spent it on great things, but they didn't. And so, sorry, am I getting too bitter this video? I apologize for that. Let me do an attitude check. Check, I'm fine. Georgia state did not spend all of their budget this year for the second year in a row. And so they're sending surplus tax back to people who paid Georgia state tax, which like is a nice thing to have money just like back in my account. And also like I would have been fine if that paid for food for people who needed it, healthcare for people who needed it, disaster relief for people who needed it, you know, schools, public schools, early intervention, community health, public health, housing. There's a lot of things that I would have been fine for this money to go to, but instead it is back in my pocket. Let me put in, I feel like the dates are less interesting, so let me just insert these dates real quick. Budget going up for rent because of the increased trash. Power, I always just sit at 100. Wi-Fi is gonna be 35. Rental insurance is due this month because it's been 12 months since we moved into this apartment. We have 3 more months on this lease, and so I'll just have to get new renter's insurance and then get some refunded back whenever we change. But for now, I had to pay the full year's amount, $324, that's what that is. And then the Chase service fee, I'm gonna say $105 because I'm pretty sure Zach's credit card fee is also due this month. And then I don't have any of my fees due. So what I like to do as I kind of budget through this is I'm gonna add up our expected income that is not including YouTube AdSense because YouTube AdSense just goes straight to savings. But expected income is $69.67, including the tax surplus. And so then as I'm doing this, like it adds up the bills for me. So you can see down here it says $2,277. So now I just do minus $2,277. It just helps me keep track as we go along of like what money there is kind of left to spend for this month. Subscriptions and memberships, I'll add the dates in real quick, and then the amounts for these are pretty much always the same. $11.99. I guess now this is $8.99, so that's new. Facial is $100, Planet Fitness $25.05, and the laptop is $145.66. Now I can see all of this adds up to its final $291 number, which I'll subtract to keep track of. Which means as of right now, we have $43.98 to go into our expenses category. I'm trying to think. I do feel like there are expenses coming up in July, likely 2 plane tickets. I'm gonna put 500 in there because I do think that I'll be able to use a companion pass. So we're just gonna kind of play around. Well, but hotels too. I might just put 700. I hope it's not that much, but it might be that much. I do think it'll be important to give this month, especially with getting that tax surplus back, and then especially with not last month. So I'm gonna put 200 down for that. Our groceries, as I learned last month, are just expensive. So I'm just gonna budget a lot. I'm gonna put 1,500. I really hope for 2 people it's not gonna be 1,500, but just in case it is, I'm gonna put that. Dining out, I do hope to go down this month because I don't think we'll be dining out all that much, but just to be like realistic and give some wiggle room, we'll give ourselves 100. That's probably like about 1 dine out. 1 dine out. Going down the line, car and transportation, realistically we'll probably have like 1 fill up this month, and so we'll do 30 for that. Coffee and breakfast, we'll do 50 just in case for some flexibility. I don't foresee us getting anything for the home this month. Right now I don't foresee me needing to make any like beauty and wellness purchases. Health and medical will be 100 just because it is every month. I probably could put that in bills instead, but it just kind of was already in this category, so it felt easy to keep it in this category. Clothes and shoes. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go back to home because I actually am making that pillow purchase that I mentioned earlier. Clothes and shoes. Zach's gonna get new shoes, so we're gonna give him 125. It might be a little over that depending on what he gets, but his goal is 100, so we'll see. Shopping miscellaneous. We're gonna put 100 just because sometimes things come up. Lunches. My goal is to stay under 50, and I think that should be realistic, but that's the goal. No school fees this month. Zach Fun 35, Anna Fun. This isn't fun, but at some point I'm gonna have to pay for fingerprinting and then also pay for the exam that I have coming up. I don't think I'll be paying for the exam this month. I think that'll be next month, and I don't know how much fingerprinting is. So I'm just gonna leave this blank and give myself some buffer in the budget so that hopefully things can add up and like end up being fine. So going back to our calculator, that's 3,040 expected in expenses, which means this month is going to be my goal to send 1,300 to high yield savings because that's what we have left. So I'm going to put that in my budget. Well, okay, that plus the AdSense, 1,473 is going to be the goal to put into high yield savings. Like I said in the beginning, my hope for these videos is just that transparency can help you, or at least is entertaining to you in some sort. I cannot pretend to know everything, but I am trying to make smart decisions, and it is nice to be able to see those smart decisions pay off and put me in a financially better place. So I hope that that can either be helpful to you or inspirational to you or relatable to you, however it may be. I have several other like financially focused videos that I'm planning on coming up. I know like the budget my paychecks with me are always a hit. Even just like payday routines are a hit. Always like what I spent in the month, things like that. But if there's anything that you would like me to speak more on, let me know. I can either speak more on it or refer you to someone who knows more than I do and can speak on it in a better way. But if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, please. It helps me more than you know. Maybe we can bring that AdSense back up to 200. We'll see. Just playing. What is a financial goal that you are working on right now? Let me know in the comments, and then cheer each other on too, because we're all in this world together, trying to make our way together, and I just love doing that with you. I'll see you next time.